Hello, everybody. I we're gonna jump back into the second book we started working on, which is 12 Laws of the Universe. I'm gonna kind of recap through chapter the introduction, just kind of a couple of things that we touched on, and then I'll go through and I'll read chapter one, and make comments and things like that. And then after that, I would love to hear your comments and your suggestions, things like that. But in the introduction, Manhardeep just, he touched on that, there's three things that the universal laws do share. And, one of them is that they're all intangible, they're boundless, and they're timeless. And one of the laws, and this is, again, I mentioned this in my video on the introduction, that the book The Secret, about the law of attraction. My older sister, she got me to read that, and it just opened up kind of a whole new world for me. But that's only one of the 12 laws, and Manhardeep does cover the law of attraction in this also. So but there's 11 other laws that kind of encompass this, and laws of the universe. And so he kind of brings them all together in this. And I mentioned the Ho'oponopono. That's a really good, if you can do any kind of meditation with the Ho'oponopono. I haven't done a lot of it, but I know a friend of mine has, and it's just, there's a lot of cool things about it that I like, and it does come from Hawaii. It's Hawaiian in nature. And so some laws are based, on that. Let's see, what else did we cover? I think that was just it in a quick nutshell. I mean, I have a whole video on the introduction. This was just kind of like a refresher of a couple of the things we touched on. But we're going to move into chapter one, which is the Law of Divine Oneness. And it's saying that everything is connected. So, and this goes by, I made a thing on my Cricut that says, we are all one. I have it on the back of my car, because I do believe that, we're all energy. Everything in this universe is energy. We are all connected in some way or some form. That I wholeheartedly believe. So we'll jump into it. Ready? Okay. So the first and most fundamental law of the universe is the law of divine oneness. It emphasizes the interconnectedness of all things. It says that beyond our senses, every thought, action, and event has something to do with everything else. In other words, every choice, word, desire, or belief you have affects the world and the people in your life. We're all connected. You, your dog, the tilapia you ate for dinner, your boss, Dwayne, the annoying barista at your local cafe. Yes, you and Dwayne both come from the same place and are energetically connected. This may be hard to believe because our egos are so good at highlighting our individuality as well as our differences. Of course, we are separate people, but this is only for one level of reality, the physical level. You and I are both physical expressions of the same energy. In fact, all living things and the manifestation of the same source energy. This is the law of divine oneness. And there's a quote, and I'm not going to say this gentleman's name right, but the quote is, people normally cut reality into compartments and so are unable to see the independence of all phenomena. To see one in all and all in one is to break through the great barrier which narrows one's perception of reality. And this quote was by Thich Nhat Hanh. I'll put his name down below. But he was a Vietnamese monastic and peace activist. He was a Buddhist monk. He just taught mindfulness. He was actually exiled from Vietnam during the war. So he's written a lot of books. Again, I'll put his name down there if you want to look into him. But from what I've seen, he has a lot of insight, and he has some really great things that he's put out there. And I plan on looking more into him myself. Okay, so let's go one step further. When we're all connected, your thoughts and actions affect everyone. We believe that we can go around in the bubble of our own life without affecting the people, communities, and the environment around us. In some cases, the effect is obvious and immediate. You have an argument with your friend and then regret it. Sometimes it's an indirect effect and you never notice it. When you hold the door open for a stranger who feels invisible to the world, that simple gesture of acknowledging his presence brightens his entire day. Every single atom inside you is connected in some way or shape or form to the rest of the universe you move through. And I want to say something really, really quickly. I read a book, and it was called The 5 People You Meet in Heaven. A lot of people have read it. They know it. And it is a fictional story, per se. But something I took away from it is that the people, when this individual passes away, he thinks he's going to, probably see all the people he knows. Well, he doesn't see all of the people he knows. And he sees random people. And, and I think that does happen to us. I think once we cross over, that is our time where we get to relive everything we've done. What action did we do and how did it actually impact someone? Because we have no way of knowing for sure what we say and do, how it impacts someone, unless they completely react at the time. So you may do like, holding the door for someone who's just having a bad day, feels like they're not important, but you hold that door and you smile and, say, have a good day. That person, it may completely change their day. It could change their week where they think, I was noticed. Someone was kind to me. The same thing when you scold someone or you judge them. Maybe the cashier's having a terrible day. Well, it's not personal. It's not you. You don't know what led that cashier to that day. So I make it a personal, I guess not challenge, but, I make a point that when someone seems to not be enjoying what they're doing, I really try to connect with them somehow, some way of, I hope your day goes better. Oh, it's really busy in here. I don't know how you do what you do. I really appreciate you being here. Something, anything, a compliment to them. I love your hair. I love your nails. If it, a woman has really pretty nails. I don't do my nails. If I could do anything to maybe break that momentum of their spiral thoughts of whatever is going on in their life. It's not going to fix it. It's not going to cure it. It's not going to change it, but it may be enough to change them and their thought process. And I think that's really important because again, it goes back to we're all connected. We don't know with the simplest gesture, positive or negative, what it's going to do to that person and how much they need it. Or, same time, someone might be having a great day and you just say something offhanded where you judge them or you're rude. It could change everything for them that day. And I try not to do that. That isn't my purpose in life. My purpose in life is to really kind of serve others as best I can and make other people feel good. Because the more people that feel good and can do good in this world, the better the world's going to be, right? It's a whole ripple effect. And we jump into that. Man Her Deep jumps into this next. This means that everything we do is a ripple effect and affects not only us, but others as well. Remember that your actions are important. They both matter and make a difference. Everything that exists, seen and unseen, is connected to each other. It's inseparable from each other to a field of divine oneness. And another quick thing is, if you've ever noticed, if you're around someone in a bad mood for too much, do you notice that your mood will dwindle, right? Same thing as if you're around someone who's in a phenomenal mood, they're in a great mood, they're laughing and they're joking, you're going to pick up on that too, right? It's catchy. So that's because we are all connected. And so positive or negative, we do share those things and they do pass on and transfer to someone else. So just like we pick up on those things. So understanding this law is important. As we do, we realize that what we think of each other should only be for good. If we think good of others, they will think good of you. It is essential that the thoughts, feelings, actions be for good, for we reap what we sow. As you gain a fuller understanding of the laws, you will see how they are all related and overlap each other and govern the world we live in. Everything consists of and exists as energy. Your subatomic particles aren't fixed. In fact, particles may be flowing into and out of you now from this page, the sky, the floor, your best friend, and your worst enemy. In other words, there is no separation. Here is an important question to contemplate on. How would you behave if you really, really knew that you were not separate from the life of your friends, colleagues, and every being that has ever existed? The answer is this: probably differently. Now, let's take a deeper look about the understanding of divine oneness. It has many names. People like me call it source, or the world. Wayne Dyer calls it spirit. Some call it energy. Others use the name karma or Buddha. Whatever it is there, and it unites us all. Again, some refer to it as the universe, or it doesn't matter. It's where we all originate. So let's find out, how are we connected to everyone else? You're born from another human being. Two, actually. Two people connected and made you. There's no other way to make life. And the two people who made you, another two people had to make them, and the two people who made them took another two people to make them. On and on goes the process. We're all connected somehow through this process, and somewhere, way back there, this process was started somewhere. So this is how we're all connected. You may affirm, but what about being connected to everything else? You are born and you will die. That's inevitable. When you die, you will return to the earth. The Bible says you are dust, and to dust you will return. To return to the earth when we die, we become the dust that creates fertile ground in which our food grows and nourishes us. We flow into the water to feed life to plants and other animals. Look at the dust. Substances that form fertile soil. The dust that makes the soil on which our food grows and nourishes people. Add water to the equation. The water evaporates and it goes up. It turns blue and turns into rain or clouds. All of us are back in the dust. That is very important to live in our lives. We all communicate like this. Why the law of divine oneness is important. Everything is energy. So when you're having a low energy or a low vibration, or I'll say, I have a low vibe today, the same is sent out into the world, and it brings down the overall vibrations of the world. As the law says, we are connected. So your vibrations affect my vibrations and vice versa. So when you are low, I simply cannot be as high. This is because your low and my high will balance each other at somewhere in the middle. A person at low energy can take a lot away from the world. It automatically stops people from being at their highest energy or their highest vibration. It is important to consider that if enough people run through the world with low energy, the world starts to be dragged down. The same applies for the higher energy. If you and I can vibe high through life, we will affect those with lower energy. Our high vibes will come down a bit, but their low vibes will come up. And the higher we can vibe, the higher we can bring up those lower vibes. So the secret to a happy, healthy, wealthy, fruitful life, better than even you can dream about, is hidden in the vibrations. But not just in your vibrations, it's in the world's vibrations. Therefore, it's essential to keep the world at a high vibration. This is how we can make this world start doing amazing things. And I'm going to break here for a quick second and just mention, I have seen, read, heard over and over again about, especially the news. We watch the news and we say it's because we want to educate ourselves, or we want to know what's going on. First of all, the news isn't necessarily the truth anymore. There was a ruling way back, I want to say it was in the 80s, around 86 or something, where the news is considered entertainment now. They're not the news. They do not have to report facts. All they have to do is report what's going to entertain and get them ratings. So based on this law, we don't know what we're getting is true, or what's fact, what isn't fact. You have one news station that says this, the other news station says this. Now, if they're facts, how can they both be saying different things, and in a lot of cases, completely opposite things. They can't. A fact is a fact, right? So if we step back from that, and then when we watch the news, we're not watching good stuff. We don't watch the news to hear good stories. We're watching negative things, and then we get ourselves riled up. I'm not saying maybe don't pay attention to the news if that's something you really want to do. But if we try to not become absorbed by it and just got what we needed and moved on, I mean, I knew a girl. She suddenly started getting really, really depressed. And this is a true story. She was a friend of mine back when my kids were young, and she was a stay-at-home mom like I was at the time. And she said, "I don't understand. She's just feeling really down. She's like, I don't know if I need depression medication." And all of a sudden, one day, I saw her, and she said she figured it out. And I was like, "All right, what is it?" She said, "I had the news on all day." She said that when she was home and she was cleaning or whatever, she just had the news going in the background for noise. She wasn't watching it. She wasn't sitting and watching it. She wasn't even listening to it. But just having that in the background all day long, and that negativity that was coming through, it was bringing her down. She's turned it off. She stopped putting it on. Her mood started coming up, and she came back up to where she was normally. And so that's when I realized the profound effect of the news on people, or any kind of like real negativity like that. And I think it was, I want to say it was a Tony Robbins that said this. I could be wrong though. In his summit, that if a newspaper prints an article and on the top of it it's just like great news and it's some wonderful story, people are going to bypass it. They're not going to buy it. But if it says blizzard coming or some other drama, those newspapers, they're probably going to sell out, because that's what people are going to go for. We're so trained, we're not going to go for the good news. We're going to pay money to read bad news. And ultimately it brings our vibration down, and then it's going to bring the vibration down of the people around us. Again, it's just something to think about. So how to use the law of divine oneness? The law of divine oneness isn't something that you apply. Instead, it's more of a living with an awareness of we're all connected. Keep this law in mind when you interact with others, knowing that you are connected to everyone and everything you interact with. How will you be different? How will you interact? And what can you do to raise your vibrations while you're raising others? These are the questions to ask yourself as you look deeper into the law of divine oneness. Some advice from the author: be mindful of your thoughts, actions, and behavior, for they send waves throughout the universe, and since we're all connected, what goes around comes back around in some form. And that's it for chapter 1. And I know I took a little bit longer than I normally do, but it's a really, really important chapter, and it is something that I try to live my life by. And if you listen to my last video about, some lessons in life, when I was so angry at these people who took advantage of my son financially, I knew I wasn't putting anything good in the world. And I was able to rein that back in though, and realized it wasn't helping anyone. So now I try to think of them as they need love. And while I'm maybe not at the point of saying, hey, I forgive them, I still can say I know they need love, and that is what I'm trying to put out as a vibration, instead of the anger, the bitterness, wanting revenge, because that is going to ripple out. People around me are going to feel it. Nobody wanted to be around me when I was angry. They just didn't. And that's what I was putting down. I was bringing everyone else's vibration down. So if you pay attention to how you are and how the people around you act, I think you'll see that in a really, just a real time type of thing. Just pay attention. If you're in a really good mood, you're going to notice people tend to be in a really good mood around you. But if you're in a really low mood, I think you'll notice people start to interact with you in more of a lower vibration or a lower mood. So I hope you enjoyed today's chapter, and thank you, Man Hardeep, for writing these books and letting me do this. And I'll be posting the video, and yeah, we'll move on to chapter 2 soon. All right, goodbye, everybody. Have a great day.